Hi, today I'm going to be talking to you about how personality assessment plays a crucial role in recruitment processes and really helps to uncover the hidden derailing behaviours that can have such a negative impact in our organisations and schools. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Richard Colwell and I work with recruitment firms and schools to identify, engage and develop their top talent. I've also got a background in occupational psychology and over 10 years experience of headhunting professionals across the public sector and within education. So today's presentation is going to focus on how we can achieve accurate hiring decisions with a particular emphasis on personality. We all know that poor hiring decisions are incredibly costly in terms of time, money and team morale. Candidates, of course, only want to put across their very best side. They want to put everything across in the best possible light. Naturally, they've got a lot at stake, and even the most honest person is going to, leave out some of the warts and all stuff. Obviously, you want to know what they're really like. If you're going to be investing a lot of time and money in this individual, and they're going to be having a huge impact across your organisation or school, it's so important that you're able to understand perhaps some of their imperfections as well as their strengths. But how do you get to that level of information? Obviously, in an interview, it's very difficult to get under the skin. You can perhaps decide whether somebody has the experience or competency, but picking out some of the personality issues can be much, much more difficult. So in order for us to find the right fit for your organisation or school, it's really important that we look at the personality and values of the individual in some depth. And of course you can't do that without using psychometric assessments. Nobody's perfect, and within each individual there are going to be areas of the personality that are best suited to a particular environment and other areas that aren't. And of course we all have insecurities, defence mechanisms and idiosyncrasies. And when we're under pressure or perceived threats, we implement those mechanisms, and they were probably learnt back in our childhoods. During our formative years, it's fair to say, I think, that probably everybody at some point was either criticised, felt insecure about something, or felt under threat from something. No matter how good your childhood is, there are going to be times when you don't feel so good about things. And of course, that's all part of normal life. It's all part of our personal growth. During our childhood, though, we do develop coping mechanisms. And those coping mechanisms are often very successful. They help us get through our adolescence and our early adulthood. But quite a lot of them stick with us, and they become less effective as we get older, as we go up the ladder in terms of our careers. And within our personalities, the imperfections tend to come to the surface when we're under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, or if we're perhaps becoming very complacent about things. And typically when we're under pressure, it's been found that we either move against, towards, or away from other people. This type of behaviour is often caused by people's distorted beliefs about how others will treat them. So one of the best ways of identifying the darker side of personality is to use a psychometric assessment tool called the Hogan Development Survey. It identifies 11 potential derailing behaviours. Most senior managers are going to have one or two areas that need to be explored in further detail. It's an assessment tool that helps to make your recruitment decisions legally defensible, and it enables you to reveal how others might realistically describe the individual's weak points. So it's not just about how they see themselves, but also about their reputation and how others might describe them. So what can the HDS tell you about your candidate's potential dark side? Well, there are 11 dimensions, and one of those dimensions is the excitable scale. People that score high on this will seem intense and energetic, but if they cross the line when they become pressured and stressed or complacent, they're going to become moody and hard to please. Such people are quite often volatile and can become very disappointed with things. Another of the dimensions is the skeptical scale. This tends to look at people that will seem initially bright and perceptive, but again, when they cross the line, when they're under pressure, they're likely to be seen as cynical and distrustful, and often feeling mistreated. Another of the dimensions is the cautious scale. People will initially be seen as conservative, perhaps a little bit unassertive, and as they step the line, as they become under threat or pressured, they'll seem reluctant to take risks. Next scale on the HDS is the reserved scale. Such people can often be seen as tough and independent, but again, when they cross over the line, other people will describe them as being aloof and detached. Next scale on the HDS is the leisurely scale, and that tends to describe people that are initially be seen as cooperative and cheerful, but when they become threatened or stressed, they're going to be seen as stubborn and resentful. These are people that are going to be aggressive in a kind of passive aggressive way. People that score high on the bold scale tend to be confident and assertive, but when they step over the line, they're seen as being self-promoting and competitive and ultimately arrogant. People that score high on the mischievous scale are often regarded as being charming and interesting individuals, but under intense pressure, or perhaps if they become bored or complacent, they're often regarded by others as being manipulative and exploitative. These are people that can end up taking risks without considering the consequences, and may believe that rules are boring and unnecessary. The next scale is the colourful scale, and individuals who score high on this dimension often seen as fun and socially skilled people. But when they're perhaps not stimulated in the right way, they're often attention seeking and can get quickly bored. People who score high on the imaginative scale are often innovative but unpredictable, and when they cross over the line, they're often regarded as being odd and self-absorbed. On the diligent scale, people tend to be perfectionistic, so when they're under a lot of pressure, that perfectionism can really slow things down and they can end up micromanaging situations. And finally, we have the dutiful scale. High scorers are often seen as conforming and unassuming, but when they cross the line, they can be overly ingratiating and deferential. People that are overly dutiful are very eager to please and reluctant to take independent action or rock the boat. So hopefully that's given you a good idea of the interesting and beneficial information that you can get from using a psychometric instrument such as the Hogan Development Survey. I think it's important to say that I don't just use the Hogan Development Survey. It's important to get a view of the whole person, and by using two psychometric instruments you can really get a very thorough idea of what an individual is all about, strengths and weaknesses. So in addition to the HDS, I use the Wave by Saville Consulting, and that helps to identify preferences, tendencies, motives and talents. It looks at 36 dimensions and 108 facets of personality, which really cluster around thought, influence, adaptability and delivery. So I think you can see from using both the instruments, you're able to get a very rich source of data that you just couldn't get from an interview or a one-day assessment process that doesn't use psychometrics. And of course, all of these things that are identified within the psychometric profiles need to be verified through a semi-structured interview with the candidates. So everything has to be explored, verified, and brought to life. So thank you very much indeed for taking the time to listen to this short presentation today. If you'd like any further information, please visit my website or my Facebook page, or keep an eye on the YouTube channel.